Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to another edition of Spiritual Infinity. And today, my guest is in Denver, Colorado, and her name is Amilynn Carroll, or she likes a spiritual name, there's Babs, but they're all nice names. And I just spoke to her briefly, and I'm going to say she's a quadriplegic. And I said to her, do you mind me saying that? She said, it's who she is. And I said, great. I said, because you are glowing. You look so lovely. You're so alive, and you'll be an inspiration to so many, because we all go through things in life. We all meet what we need to do, and we all need to realize that it is what it is, but how do we handle it? So without much ado, I'm going to say hello to my guest, Amilynn. Hello, in Denver, Colorado. What's the weather like over there?
Oh, it's beautiful. It'll be a crisp 72 degrees today with bright sunshine, and the leaves are starting to change their color. The birds are singing. I could not be in a better place. Good morning. It's so great to be with you and your listeners.
Thank you. And as she says good morning to me, because they are actually 7 hours behind. As you know, I'm in London. Amy is in Denver, Colorado, and there's a 7 hour difference. So whilst it's morning in her time, it's afternoon where I am. So this is fun. So Amilynn, as you know, my program is about people telling their stories about their spiritual connection, how they came about it, what they went through. More often than not, it started in childhood. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's for people all over the world who are going through so much and don't know exactly how to handle it, or if they're weird, or is there something wrong. But when we share our story, we let them know that we're all different, but we're all here for a purpose, and we're all here to support one another, and it's fine. So Amilynn, let's hear your story today.
Well, thank you first and foremost for the invitation to be here. And you've used a word already this morning that I just so love, and it's different. So I'm going to tell you a story that's not much different from so many of you out there, because we grow up in this world, especially as women. Now, I'm sure there are men listening too, and you have the edicts, you have the curriculum that the world has put on you as a man. But as a woman, it's our job to be stoic and to be strong and to be empowering and to do all of these things, and to have seemingly somehow figured it out. And no one gave us a manual. And
Thank
yet
you.
there's some expectation that
Yep.
we would have answers to questions we've never heard before, let alone had an opportunity to engage with. And so I feel like my story, while the details are different, the particulars are different, we all walk the same journey. And for me, that journey is a walk home. And that place of home is to ourselves, learning who we are and why we're here and what makes us unique and purposeful and meaningful in this experience. And so a little bit of my background: I was born, I'm actually the second oldest of 15 children.
They didn't
The,
have TV in your time.
that's right. It's still in my time. Exactly. That's not very common.
15. Any
Right.
any any twins and quadruplets and
Nope, all single births. Now, I found out at 35 that my older brother and I had been adopted, but the other 13 are all biological.
okay.
And
Your
so
parents love
literally my story begins from the very moment of those first memories,
yeah.
because, I think it does for each of us. We are so quick to talk about childhood trauma or childhood wounds, but there's also a foundation there that's being built for us. So I was raised in a family, very religious, very extreme religion. Matter of fact, came to the realization in my early 40s that I was really raised in a cult, and didn't realize it until I was watching Dr. Phil here in the United States. And
Oh,
Dr. Phil comes on, and there's the there's a childhood friend of mine sitting in the chair next to him, and she's literally talking about her upbringing in the same church organization that I had been raised in. And so it really began to answer questions that I had had for many years. So I'm raised in this environment. My father was a Marine Corps drill instructor. So you do as you're told, when you are told, because the consequences of not doing it were dire.
Ooh.
So we
Wow.
learn to follow from a place of obedience and fear.
Yeah.
So as I matriculated through my own life, I go on to college, and, I'm top of my class in high school, top of my class in college. I am checking off all of the boxes that we are called to check off in order to be successful in today's society.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I couldn't have been more empty. I couldn't have been more confused. And that confusion, that emptiness and that confusion, they partner and they turn into fear.
Yeah.
And then fear becomes the guidepost by which we begin to operate from. And it's an unknowing, it's an unconscious thing that happens. And it's almost a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
That fear is in place because we have had these experiences that we were expected to have the answers before we knew the questions.
Yeah.
And so I know that so many of your listeners, as I talk about this, maybe I'm saying it in a way you haven't heard it. Maybe I'm putting words to a feeling in just the depth of your being that you've not been able to put words to, but there's a resonance there because so many of us have been operating from that place for so long. But when we don't know where we're operating from, it's hard to course correct and begin to operate in a different way. You used the word different a couple of times in the introduction of our conversation here today. And I want to introduce a thought for each of you who are listening today. Different doesn't make it wrong.
No.
It simply makes it different.
Yes.
And that has come so full circle for me. In 2022, after many years of health challenges, I am a cancer survivor many times over. I have lived past an expiration date given to me by doctors at the Mayo Clinic here in the United States. And in 2022, I had a stroke. And that stroke left me a quadriplegic. And I will tell you in this moment, it was a life-defining event for me in ways I could not have asked for, in ways I could not have orchestrated, and in ways that I likely would not have realized had that life-altering moment happened any differently than the way it did. And so today, in this moment, when I talk about this idea of this stroke, in those moments and even days and weeks afterwards, learning to re-speak, learning to find the bits and pieces of a memory to put things back together, recognizing that for someone who is a recovering triple A personality, I wasn't in control of anything. I got the opportunity to learn to live from a different place. And I got to define what that place was. So in that space, as we think about how our life is unfolding, one question I will leave for you to ponder for yourself, each of you who is listening today. If I received the challenge differently, how different would my life be in this moment?
Yeah. You said something earlier and it really resonated. It was, how would you just facing what you had to face, but you faced so much, your cancer, all these other things, but it was actually facing this stroke that really changed you. And it's like, here is a person that's gone through so much, and you said cancer more than once, I take it, his way she was multiple times, and that knock and that bang each time, and yet it was this, and it's almost as if, you know, speaking to so many people on this side, and it is a spiritual thing, it's almost as if the universe kept on trying to draw your attention, and it wasn't until you had this stroke, it seems, that you listened.
Yeah, the pieces and parts are always there.
Yeah.
You know, there's a famous book, Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great book from a physical perspective, but from a metaphysical perspective, from a spiritual perspective, I believe, and I've done much study across multiple faith backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a faith background that I have studied deeply that doesn't teach it. Each of those faith backgrounds teach that we are born perfect, whole, and complete.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some sort of point in the story, there is a turning away from the divine. There is a quote unquote recognition of our humanness in the divine. And so as we begin to think about what each and every experience that shows up in our life is, what if we go back to that origin of perfection, divine perfection, not human perfection, wholeness, divine wholeness, not human wholeness, and complete, perfect, whole, and complete. And so for me, while I had done lots and lots of study in 2007, doctors gave me an expiration date. They gave me 6 weeks to live in 2007. And girl, I got to tell you, I did what most everybody else does. And I go home and I cried like a baby. I'm a rule follower. I do what I'm supposed to do. I'm a good person. I don't steal. I've never murdered anybody. Like I try to be kind to people around me. I eat the things I'm supposed to eat. I turn away from the sugars and this. It was such a why me moment. And I had to have that why me moment, because on the third day, I woke up and I realized that what this doctor had shared with me was not truth, capital T, but his opinion, his best understanding of what was going on in my story. And that didn't need to be the final chapter. And I couldn't have put it in these words at that time. But what I decided to do is I decided to start questioning absolutely everything I thought I believed. Because we talk about these belief patterns that we have, right?
Yeah.
What would you say if I would tell you that more people are having not a crisis of faith, but a crisis of belief?
Yes.
And the reason for that is because we're not programmed. It's not conditioned thinking. We are operating on what I call borrowed beliefs.
Yes.
And those borrowed beliefs are amazing. They come from our parents and our teachers and our grandparents and our friends and our coworkers and the stranger on the subway. Those borrowed beliefs come from everywhere, and they serve a purpose until they no longer do. But when we continue to operate from a place as if they're serving us, then are you ready? We're out of alignment.
Yes.
And that alignment, that lack of alignment is what brings the confusion. It brings the frustration. It brings the awkwardness. It brings the depression. It brings the exhaustion. It brings I can't do this anymore.
Yes.
So it's not meant to be a period at the end of a sentence. That conflict it's a wake-up call that we are out of alignment with who God, universe, source, creator, divine mind is calling us to be.
Yes.
It's an invitation back home to our own experience. And that's what I'm learning. Each of these challenges in my own experience are nothing more than a calling card for me to come home to what I know to be true, and not my truth. In 2025, we hear a lot about people finding their truth.
Mm-hmm.
But I would suggest that what we're all truly looking for is truth, universal.
Universal.
And how
Creative.
do we know the difference?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a great example. So as we're recording in this moment, love, it is 9:23 a.m. in my time zone.
Mm-hmm.
It is 7 hours later in your time zone. Both are true.
Yeah.
But truth is that we are one.
Yes.
In community, one in soul and one in spirit, having a conversation that is going to resonate with those who are listening. But we're doing it a little differently because we're doing it in a way where that resonance will bring about meaningful and practical ideas for the individuals who are listening. So two different time zones.
I love what you just said. It's so, I love that analogy. You're here, I'm here. It's different times, yet we're together.
We're right here, right now.
Right here, right now. Different time zones, different countries, but yet we're here right now.
Different experiences, different life experiences. Different doesn't make it wrong. It simply makes it different. And let's take it one step further. So many of us, especially in moments of upheaval or challenge, conflict, the question comes up, who am I and why the heck am I still going through this?
Thank you. So many of us ask that question. Yes.
So what if it's not about our physical human, first and foremost? What if, in fact, we are nothing more but nothing less than the expression of the divine?
Yes.
And without each of us in our own independent, individual stories, without each of us, the divine is not fully expressed. And so we get to live right where we are, because it's by living where we are that we see the transformation. We see the calling card back home, the conflict. We begin to see that it's not about me. It's not personal. I'm a quadriplegic. My first husband was killed by a drunk driver. I realized I was born in a cult. Like, we all have stuff that shows up in our life, and none of it is personal. It's the world unfolding. What is personal is how we choose to engage with it.
Thank you.
Or choose not to pick up the story and live it further.
Yeah. And it is how we react to things that is the main thing. How we look at it, how we perceive it, then determines what we do, what we say, and how we can change things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want you to think for just a moment about the difference between reacting and responding.
Yes. Yes.
When we react to something, it's usually charged. It's emotionally charged in one way or another, whether it's happy, whether it's sad, no matter where it is on the spectrum, it's emotionally charged.
Yes.
But when we find ourselves, when we re-find ourselves, when we come home, we begin to learn how to respond as each moment shows up. And responding to that moment is actually meeting that moment where it is, and then taking what I call the traffic light approach. The traffic light approach. So here in the United States, we have traffic lights, red, yellow, green. We all know what the red is, go. We all know what stop. I misspoke. The green is go. But I would suggest that the most important light on that traffic signal is the yellow.
Amber.
Because it invites us to pause
Yes.
assess, and decide. So when something in our world shows up that we weren't expecting, or that we didn't want, or that we don't understand, if we pause and simply say, okay, I'm not going to react. I'm going to assess. The second step is assessing what's really going on here.
Yes.
When we are in at a thoroughfare and we're at a crossroads and that light is signaling yellow, we're going to pause. We're going to assess. Is there traffic coming from the opposite direction? Is there traffic coming from right or left? Is the traffic coming behind me going so fast that if I were to slam on my brakes, they would hit me? There are lots of considerations, and it all happens in a nanosecond as we're driving. But I'm inviting us to bring this decision-making process into our conscious being, not our unconscious being. And so when something shows up, we're assessing, okay, what is really going on? Is it really about me? And then the next step is to decide how I'm going to show up in the next moment. Who am I going to be when I'm in a tough relationship with someone, and maybe it's abusive? And it's not about, am I going to allow them to continue abusing me? But the question is am I strong enough to step away?
Yes.
And I will tell you in this moment, if that is the question you are stepping in, you are strong enough to step away.
Right.
And it will be the hardest thing you ever did. And it will be the turning point in your life.
Yes.
Or if you are dealing with a health diagnosis, that, look, nobody signs up for bad health. Nobody says, oh, pick me. I want cancer, or I want dementia, or I want Parkinson's, or I want autism or ADHD, or I want a child that has those symptoms and that experience in there. Like, no one raises their hand and signs up for that. But what we do get to do is we get to decide how we are going to respond.
Yes.
And it's a moment by moment decision. We've all heard the phrase, you've made your bed, now lay in it.
Yes.
Society would tell us that when these things show up in our life, it's because we've made choices that would bring that into our experience. About 15 years ago, I was making my bed, and one who lived under the philosophy, you've made your bed, now you get to lay in it. You've made a commitment, you have to fulfill it. And at that point in my experience, love, I was so overextended. I was on many boards, my business was busy, my family was busy, and I was exhausted. And I'm unfurling that comforter over the top of the bed, and I realized I make my bed every day. I didn't make it once 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. I make it every day. And all of a sudden, this idea that I can make a new choice every moment. Now, it matters how I make that choice and how I share that choice if I've already made a commitment. But what I began to do in the days shortly after this God whisper was I called a couple of the boards that I was on and I said, I need to step away. How would that be easiest for you, for me to do that? Would you like me to stay on until you have my replacement? I'm working on this project. Would you like me to bring it to a conclusion before I step away? Would you like me to step away immediately? What works for you? I didn't just say, well, I've had this revelation. I get to make a new choice and I'm overextended, so I quit. Good luck to y'all. Figure it out. No, we get to choose then how we're going to show up, how we're going to respond to this new information. With my health, look, I cried. I bawled like a baby. After my stroke, I've had moments of just sheer terror and deep anger. But I experience those moments. I live them. I let them be my truth for that moment so that it can be fully expressed. Because if we don't express those feelings, guess what? They build up inside and build up inside and build up inside. And then when somebody does something small, we are over responding because we didn't handle it in the moment it was present. So we get more autonomy over our experience than we think we do. But it means being aware. It means asking questions. It means holding ourselves accountable to the way we're showing up and saying, gosh, I wish I'd done that a little differently, and I will do it differently the next time. It's not about harsh self-judgment. Look, I'm a firm believer, don't be the first person in line to tear yourself down.
Yes.
The world is ready to do it for you. Do not lead the charge. But be honest. Are there things that I could be doing differently? Of course, there are things we all can be doing differently. But then the question is, how do I do that? We do it one moment at a time. We do it one minute shift at a time. If it is dealing with a relationship at work, for example, I have to be a certain way at work. You don't have to be disingenuous to yourself at work because you need this job. Yes, we need a job. We need the income coming in. But if we are being asked to be outside of our character in order to maintain a job, we are in the wrong job.
Thank you.
And if we're in the wrong job and we are so committed to that wrong job, we are not open to the right job that is out there waiting for us. And we may have to look a little, and we may have to listen a little, but our right space is always there for us. And our right space isn't always conflict free. That's not what I'm saying. But we know when we have settled in a relationship, in a job, in a home life, like every component of our life, financially, emotionally, spiritually, we know when we are settling. We know when we are bypassing life just to get through.
Yeah.
And if we get really honest with ourselves in those moments and can be more aware, then we can also be more aware of the moments that are inviting us home to where we really are called to be.
It's inviting us to step up. It's inviting us to let go of sometimes, it's not sometimes, most of that fear, that false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
And I understand that so much because even I'm going through something like that in the moment, and I realize it's from the past and things there, and now it's as though now is my time, and now is the time to overcome all these negative thoughts and to believe more that you are capable of, especially when things are presented to you. And it does become a challenge because you have to battle that negative aspect that's been there for so long.
Right. But here's the thing about that.
Being aware of it.
Exactly. It's the awareness.
Yeah.
And here's scientific proof that we get to choose our future.
Yeah.
So in that moment of fear, did you know that fear and imagination originate from the same part of our brain? Fear is nothing more than imagination misunderstood.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So if I'm afraid of something and I can recognize that I'm afraid of it, we get to ask ourselves the question, what if I imagined this differently? Because the fear is nothing more and nothing less than imagination to begin with. And as we grow older, that fear becomes more ingrained.
Yes.
And the reason it becomes more ingrained is because as a child, we are encouraged to be creative. We are encouraged to be imaginative. And that part of our brain, that part of our experience wants to be fully expressed. But as we grow older, that imagination begins to be curtailed. It begins to be controlled. It begins to be told that it either has value or doesn't have value. And yet it still resides. And so what it does is it begins to manifest as fear as opposed to creativity. Fear is not meant to stop us. Fear is meant to invite us to see its opposite. You know, it's the old phrase, what if I fall?
Yeah. And what if
I don't?
But it's such a, it's as much as it's inviting us to see the opposite, it's also because within the society we live in, when sometimes you need that encouragement to say, go ahead, it's fine. But also that encouragement is also because we have stepped away from our divine connection, which automatically tells us that we're capable of everything.
Right.
And that fear stops us from being and understanding and realizing who we really are.
And have been all along.
It's yes. And
We've
it's
just simply forgotten.
Yeah. It's been put there to keep us off track. And so there are times when we need that push, that deep push and understanding to say, come on, I can do it. But again, it's because we have stepped away from the divine, because we will always have challenges. We will always have challenges, whether we're supposed to be there or supposed to be. The challenges is always that. But as you say, it's how we respond. And because we have forgotten the power that we are connected and part of, we feel that we can't respond. We will fail. It will go wrong. We'll be laughed at, this, that. And it's all these nonsenses that have been put there to blind us, to make us smaller than who we really are. And I shouldn't say smaller than who we really are. We're not small at all. We're made to think we're small, but we are so mighty.
Absolutely. And all it takes is a moment of recognition.
Yes.
And then tomorrow, maybe 2 moments of recognition. We're not talking minutes. We're talking a moment of recognizing. And for me, that's why it's so important that our daily practices become part of our experience. It's not something we do. It's part of who we are. That morning wake up. What is the very first thing you say when you wake up? Oh God, here we go again. Thank God, here we go again. It's how we choose that very first moment to start our day, or in a moment of where maybe I've fallen and stumbled, and saying, okay, Amilynn, yeah, man, that was hard. I know you want to do it differently, but guess what? This is a new moment right now, and I can choose to move forward. We're not meant, look, when the Bible, no matter what your spiritual text is, when it talks about judgment, we have so misinterpreted this idea of judgment. Judgment isn't about you get to go to heaven or you don't. Judgment isn't about you're a good person or you're a bad person, end of story. Judgment is about saying, am I operating in alignment with who I know I truly am? And that means we have to get clear on who and whose we are.
Yes.
And even in those moments when it doesn't feel like that's who or whose we are, we get to stay steadfast in that moment, because it's by staying steadfast in that moment, by recognizing that people will laugh, people will snicker, people will have their opinions. And all of those may be true. They are not truth. And the truth of our experience is that we are nothing more and nothing less than the expression of the divine. And if I get a good expression today, Or am I
Yeah.
going to be a not so good expression today?
Can I stop you there because you said something and it's very poignant, very, very significant, yet you could miss it when you say people look at you and may judge you and say things, and why that may be the truth from their perspective, it is not the truth.
Yeah.
Do you see how, yeah, they might, because you may show up as a square box and they look at you as a square box, but actually you're not a square box. Just because you show up as a square box doesn't mean you're a square box, because
But
you're
here's
not.
the thing. It's you say just because you show up as a square box and they see a square box, just because they see a square box doesn't mean that that's how you're showing up.
Thank you.
Their understanding of you
Yeah.
is only what you have allowed them to experience.
Yes.
We teach people how to treat us.
Yes.
And if we acquiesce to the fears that come about,
Yes.
people know that. They
Yeah.
know what to expect from Amilynn.
Yes.
Now, in my world today, people rarely know what to expect from me, and that is what they expect.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning that. Are you familiar with the? He's such a wisdom teacher, a thought leader. His name's Adyashanti. He's a Western Tibet monk who actually lives here in the United States. And he has this amazing saying. He says, I only struggle when I want things to be different. I only struggle because I want my friends to receive me differently. I want my coworkers to receive me differently. I want my parents and my family to receive me differently. I want the person on the subway who I've never crossed paths with before to treat me differently, to see me differently. And that starts with a personal accountability of how are we showing up.
Yeah.
And because we teach people how to treat us, they then begin to predict. And so then they show up in a way that has predicted how we will show up, and the cycle continues.
Yeah.
But in a challenging relationship,
So true.
if someone is used to you sniping at them or being sarcastic or being very quiet and timid and not saying your truth, if they're used to that, you finding a way to just begin to break through the shell. And instead of maybe being quiet, you offer to help do something. You bring them in via invitation in a gentle way. They begin to see who you truly are.
Yeah.
We use the analogy of a fire. We all know what fires are. They can be very devastating. So let's just take an analogy, and let's say that there's a building, and it is a multiple story building, and it's on the corner of cross streets. Once the fire department gets there and starts to squelch the fire, police then are making sure that the crowds are back and away and out of harm's way, but they're also beginning to ask people, what did you see?
Yeah.
What you are a witness. What did you see? Now imagine for just a moment, there is a witness on the northeast corner, and his or her experience of that fire is very different than the witness on the southwest corner. And it doesn't make it any less true, but it means their experience of it was different.
Mm-hmm.
And we need all of those different experiences from the different perspectives in order to pull together the full story, to understand what happened in that burning building.
Yeah.
So often we want to say what those around us are saying. We want to be in alignment with what they're saying, because if I say something different, I don't want to be conflict. I don't want them to not like me or to not appreciate me or not invite me to tea on Tuesday or to the movies on Saturday, or my children to play with their children for a play date.
Yeah.
But when we begin to speak from a place of knowing, we do it with humility and grace always. It's never about changing someone's mind, and it's never about judgment.
No.
But when we can start a sentence, in my experience, this is what that looked like. It shifts the way people respond to us. And that feeds the ego. The ego is really important. The ego really, truly is important to carry us through this human experience, but it is not our identity.
No.
It is an external component that is meant here to enhance our experience.
Yes.
Not to drive our experience. And when we can be in relationship with a person, and that even in a moment of disagreement, there's not conflict. And I'm going to say that again. In a moment of disagreement, it is not conflict. Then our true essence is shining through, and our ego gets to say, see, I carried you this far. Ego is happy. Because our ego doesn't necessarily need us to be in conflict in order for us to be happy. It is our ego that wants us to be happy. It is our soul that calls us to be fulfilled. Happiness is fleeting. Fulfillment is our calling.
Yeah, because happiness can be buying a shoe, buying this, and when you do, it's done. Yeah. And then you go on to the next thing, and then you go on to the next thing. So when do you stop looking for happiness? So it is about being fulfilled and being who you really are and being at peace with that. Mm-hmm. And as you say, when you're in that stride, this humility, this calmness, mm-hmm. There is no conflict. Mm-hmm.
When we think about addicts in our world, addicts are chasing the happiness.
Yes, yes.
They're chasing, but what they think they're chasing happiness from one hit to the next, whether it's alcohol or drugs or gambling or eating or whatever it is, that moment. But what they're really striving for is a sense of fulfillment.
Yes.
And you can't have a sense of fulfillment if you don't know who and whose you are.
So true.
And if you're listening to the external voices that are all opinion. Mm. Even my own voice is opinion. What is truth is the voice of the divine, the voice of the universe, the voice of infinity, who knows us at the very core of who we are, that doesn't know the moment before, that doesn't carry a lineage and a story and a human history with it. Because at the end of the day, my experiences, what has happened in my life may have formed my experience, but they are not my identity.
No. Yes.
And so many of us think that they are, that we somehow have to put down choices that we made 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. Generationally, we have to set down choices that others have made on our behalf. No, we just get to choose not to pick it up again.
Yeah.
And if we're not picking it up, we get to choose then how we're going to operate moving forward.
Yeah.
And it really is a choice. The first time it feels really hard and it feels heavy, and sometimes it can be really dark. And that, my love, is why each of us needs a travel partner. Someone who can listen without judgment. Mm-hmm. Someone who can love us exactly where we are without trying to fix us. We are not broken.
No.
There's not a single person on the face of this planet that needs fixed. None of us are broken. But if we are seen first by ourselves and then by those around us for who and whose we truly are, conflict is still going to come.
Oh, yes.
They're still going to show up, but they're going to be like water off a duck's back. They're invitations to continue growing and transforming.
And this is what it is. The conflicts, the challenges that we face whatever you want to call it, they are invitations for us to stop, use the amber light, think, and respond in a way that is not upsetting to anything or anyone. But at the same time, it's helping us to flex our spiritual muscle and spiritual mind to open up and see things and experience things from a perspective of our higher self, and therefore not reacting.
Right.
And
the only thing that I would encourage you to think about just a little bit differently is that when we're thinking about how we're going to respond and react in that situation, that it may still bring up conflict for others.
Yeah.
Because we can't control where they are on their journey.
No.
They may not like the decision we make. They may not feel comfortable with it. It may surprise them because they are used to us operating differently.
Yes.
So that's one of the hardest things for us as we are beginning to live from our own center.
Yes.
It's that the people around us, it's almost shell shock. Woo, woo, woo. That's not how you no, that is not how you do this.
Yes, we're doing it differently.
Right. But different doesn't make it wrong. It just
No.
makes it different. But we have to give grace to those around us to
Mhm.
not understand
Yeah.
this new approach, this new shift. We have to be committed to the pause, to the
Yes.
assessing, and to
Yes.
the deciding, because those decisions are definitely going to ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
And it means that there are people in our lives that may step away for a while or for a lifetime.
Yeah.
But that if they are stepping away, then they're not meant to be here in this season of our experience.
That's
And
right.
that is okay too.
Yes. And this all comes about when we start to, as you say, to our center, which is connected to the divine, God, the creator, the mystic, whatever name you want to give it. When
Exactly.
you're ready to take that connection, recognize that connection, work on that connection, develop that connection from truth. When you're ready to do that, you do change.
Mhm.
And as you said, people around you may not necessarily like who you are, but that's
That's their journey.
that's their journey, not yours.
Right.
As long as you are making that connection to the divine and you are working from that core center to the divine, and everything you're striving for, and it's difficult, you're not going to do it all perfectly. It's a daily, minutely, secondly, it's a challenge of growth, of change, and you have to be committed to it. And you have to realize, as you just said, sometimes those people may not be there for you to continue with in your journey. It's time to part.
Yeah. They may not celebrate the growth.
And it's okay, because they have to do it in their way and do whatever they do in their way. This is your time. And we all have to get there, but we'll all do it at different times and in different ways.
And here's the thing, I want to remind each of us as we're listening to this, because sometimes we can be really excited. Like this just feels so inviting. But as you said, it's not always easy. And it's not always easy because we have these preconceived ideas of what life is meant to be like.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just imagine for a moment that we are the caterpillar who is going into the chrysalis, building this chrysalis around itself. And in that chrysalis, the caterpillar devolves, goes back to its core, into this ugly black goo. I do not encourage you to ever break open a cocoon because you're ending a creature's life. But if you were to open a cocoon in the early stages, that caterpillar has devolved into this black goo. The caterpillar then ceases to exist as it did before. The caterpillar to the butterfly is the only organism on the face of the planet whose DNA changes 100% from the caterpillar to the butterfly. And yet the caterpillar doesn't know that its quote unquote life is ending with the birth of this butterfly. But as it goes in to do the work of becoming the butterfly, who it was meant to be all along, it's devolving into this ugly black goo. So if you are in the goo, find a travel partner who will love you right where you are, because it's without being in that goo, we never get to emerge as that butterfly. And so many of us have already been through the goo or feel like we're in the goo and we feel like we've emerged. And here's another scientific fact, because somehow the brain is like, give me a scientific fact and I'll keep going.
Yes.
A butterfly with 70% of her wings missing or broken can still defy gravity and take flight, my friend.
Oh my gosh.
70% of the wing missing or broken can still defy the laws of nature, gravity, and take flight. And so many of us are wounded butterflies. So take the time to rest, find a milkweed, find a soul sister, find a travel partner where you can be you. Because so often when we are just being us and we're talking about the ugly and the dark and the hard and the challenge, it's by getting it out that we're able to set it down. And then I invite you to do something different. At the end of that conversation, instead of packing it all back up again, don't pick it up. Move forward. Leave it on the ground right where you left it. If it wasn't meant for you, don't carry it forward with you.
That is so beautiful. Amilynn, this is so beautiful. Amilynn, you are there. You talk such words of wisdom, and that is because of what you've gone through. And I know that because when you're forced in life, these things appear and you understand them because you've gone through that journey. What are you doing at this present time in a way of connecting with others and sharing your knowledge?
Oh, what a sweet invitation. Thank you. And my invitation is to anyone who's listening. First and foremost, I encourage you, find a travel partner. Those travel partners are so important. And for me, I don't consider myself a coach. I get to be the chief travel partner.
Okay.
And in my world, we have what's called the Life Charter. And the Life Charter program takes the 12 dimensions of your life, and it builds on the 4 premise pillars of premise, vision, purpose, and statement. So at the end of the day, when an opportunity comes to you, it may be an excellent opportunity, but it might not be a right opportunity for you. You are able to learn how to make your choices for your life differently. When you have a relationship that's in challenge or in struggle or in crisis, you're learning how to show up in that relationship in a healthy, practical, and meaningful way so that you can be heard and seen and make the choices that make you the person that you already know you are. So if you're interested in learning more, I'm sure in the show notes, you are going to have my name spelled properly. And luckily, everything in my world is my name. My website is Amilynn Carroll. My social profiles are all Amilynn Carroll. I decided to do it easy. And I would love, on my website, I have a widget where you can literally leave me a voicemail message. Because sometimes when you're talking about hard things, you don't want to type it all out in a message. But you just leave me a voice message. Let me hear your heart. Yeah. And my commitment and my promise, and I have yet to fall down on this, is I return every message that's sent. Oh, so if you're looking for someone to travel with, and if I can be of help in that space, hit me up online and let's explore what that might look like together.
Wonderful, wonderful. I like when you say travel partner. It's much nicer than a coach, because yes, yes. Oh, that's lovely. Absolutely lovely. So, Amilynn, before we say thank you, thank you, thank you for your time and for your lovely sharing of your journey, can you leave us with some gold nugget or two of advice to our listeners who are going through so many things? What would you advise them in this present day when there's so much going on, so much deception and so much anger, so much confusion? What can you say to us to help us along that journey?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is each of us, no matter our circumstances before or that will follow, is we are right where we are meant to be. There are lessons and there are blessings in absolutely everything that shows up in our life. And if you feel like the lessons are too heavy, start looking for the blessing. It is there. It is there, and I promise you that. And if you're struggling to find the blessing, this is my second thing. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. There's nothing wrong with you. Find a travel partner who will love you right where you are and who will walk hand in hand the journey that comes ahead. You will support them as they are unfolding. They will support you as you are unfolding. We were never meant to do this journey alone. And if you are a Christian who believes in the kingdom of heaven, it's a kingdom, it's not a solitude. We are called to come together, to be brothers and sisters on this journey, because that journey is why we're all here. And we're simply meant to figure out, it's a love laboratory. And I love that we don't have to do that alone. So you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You're not beyond repair.
Mm-hmm.
And find someone to travel with today, because I don't know about you, but everything is made better with a good travel partner.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. So I know it has been such a wonderful listening, a wonderful sharing of your experience. You've said so many things of wisdom, but practical for each one of us as we're going through our journey to understand and look at things differently, say them differently, and to know that you're not broken. And if people look at you in a different way, don't worry. And it is about connecting to the divine within and the divine out. It's there. It's calling us. It's calling us. Listen to it. And when you realize that and rely on that, we do change. We become calmer, wiser, and more able to face the challenges that are there, because we're flexing our muscles to be as we're supposed to be.
We're not changing.
No.
We're simply remembering who we were meant to be, but forgot along the
way.
We're remembering, no change.
No. We're remembering and bringing out that inner person, the true person, and the beauty. And we are so strong.
Oh, we can do so much more than we think.
So much more than we think. But we were made to forget and to think we're something else. And this is the time of the awakening. So for all of those, Amilynn has told you, go to her website, Amilynn Carroll, and you'll get hold of her. Leave a message. She will answer you. And for now, we'd like to say thank you, Amilynn, for your time. And I'd like to say thank you, all of you, for listening in this episode. And from me in London, bye for now.